and welcome to another episode of Radiorama, where as the name might possibly imply, I'll show you how to work on radios and other things that happen to glow. Why do I get my tongue twisted on that? Happens to run on glowing vacuum tubes. And today we have this Blaupunkt, I think it says Boston stereo, and boy is it a weird one. So here's the radio part. Looks like one of these record players. And this opens up for more storage, and there's two little speakers that are in the front. And I thought, that really can't be it, really? Seriously? And then I looked on the sides, and that's it. Like, there's nothing else in this big cabinet other than those kind of like small-ish looking speakers. And I was told it worked, but when I test fired it, I got immediately a loud hum. So I turned it off immediately, and I'm not going to bring it up even on a Variac, because I think I know what's happening. I think that the electrolytic capacitors are shorted hard, and if you continue to run a set like this, even on a Variac, like, you can do some bad damage to your power transformer. So first things first, I need to take the chassis out and do some investigation. Alright, well, here is the back removed, and appears to be a virgin set. I don't think it's ever been worked on, because you can tell the only way to get this chassis out of here is you have to desolder these connections, unless they're, I get a feeling they're probably, yeah, they're soldered onto the speakers as well. So someone would, if they had worked on it in the past, would have desoldered that, and it would have not looked as neat as that is. And so I'm going to take it out. I think what holds it in is probably these three screws. You can see it's resting on these little pieces here. That's probably keeping it up straight, and then there's probably some sort of hook or some sort of attachment up top here that holds the front end, I'm assuming, unless I'm wrong. Let me see if there's anything in the front that would indicate anything. I'm trying to feel. Nope. All right, I think it's only held in by those three screws in the back. That makes sense. I think I've worked on a few Blaupunkts that had that little trick. But what I'll do is I'm going to just nip the wires, like, and I'll leave just a tiny little bit of, the blue and the white insulation from those wires, so I'll know when I put it back in there what goes where. And it should be pretty obvious, like, what side goes where. Got clearly this side, and that's clearly that side. And then once I get it up there, I can probably, if I have to take this off, then I'll have an easier time marking the wires that go to this. I'm assuming it's a crossover unit. Yes, I was correct. So this front slots into a slot in the front of the cabinet, and then there's 4 bolts to hold this on, kind of like a sleigh. So what I need to do is get underneath all of this. So I need to take this crossover unit off of this board. In fact, I think all I'm going to do is take the screws out. That can be loose. That's easier than having to desolder all that crap. And then what I want to do is test this electrolytic. There's several inside. I'm going to assume they're bad, assume that's what's shorting and causing my awful problem, my noise, that I don't want to repeat, but I need to confirm that first. I need to replace it anyway, but I'm just curious if that's what my problem actually is versus, say, like a blown rectifier. Took that wood off, and sometimes you got to use a little screwdriver to pry it up a little bit, and unfortunately I think some of the goo that held the rubber together is disintegrating, and it kind of glued some of the surface of the fiberboard together, but that's not a problem. What I want to do is see if this electrolytic capacitor is okay. And what I'm going to do is detach one lead or one part of that can. There's two capacitors in it, and there's several things connected to it. I'm just seeing where stuff's going here. I think this is my B plus right here. Not my B plus. I think this is coming directly off my rectifier here. So I'm going to detach that, these two leads, and then I'm going to use my Sprague telemic, which is a capacitor analyzer slash reformer. And these are pretty dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, so do not use these if you're not familiar with them, because they put out real voltage and could definitely really hurt you in a very not nice way. So if you don't know what you're doing, don't use one of these. But they're handy if you do know how to use them. And they're helpful for determining things. And I want to determine what's causing the problem. And it'd be nice heading into this before I start replacing crap to know what the problem is. Because there's not much to replace. These guys, I think, are paper. But everything else is some sort of ceramic or plastic compound material. So not much to do. But I think this might be bad, but we'll find out soon. All right, let's see what happens. Well, that's not great. See that needle not moving at all. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, that capacitor shorted. That is, almost said shorted. Shorted hard. That'd cause some problems. All right, well, that's got to be replaced, so I'm going to replace the other one too, because it's going to, this makes sense. If that one's gone bad, the other ones can't be close behind it, or if it isn't already, then it probably might be soon. Alrighty, so the old capacitor is out of the equation now, and so we've got two new electrolytic capacitors in their place. So the thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over to the museum. I take it over to the cabinet and see if I can use alligator clips to plug it in and see if it'll do anything. Alright, moment of truth. I'm going to see if this is going to give me some problems. So I've got this all connected with 10,000 alligator clips. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit, and if it was going to short, I would have known it right away, because basically it would have caused problems and hummed loudly. Anyway, let me get some volts going through here. Come on now. All right, here we go. It's about 40 volts, not drawing much. It's about to be expected. I think this only uses maybe under 50 watts of power. That's enough for me to see if there's anything of life happening here. We have a pilot light, that's good. And it's too dirty to tell if there's anything going on. But that's better than before. I remember when I tried to bring this up before, even at 50%, it just was starting to hum. So I turned it off immediately. So I'm going to bring it up a little bit more. Of course, there's a jet plane going overhead right when I want to demonstrate this. I feel like I'm hearing radio. I'm just going to sit here for a minute. Let jet plane to go away a little bit. Okay, still only drawing about 20 watts. There's not much to that quote-unquote stereo. It's a little more than a tabletop radio. Okay, it's not doing anything horrible. Let me go ahead and get it all the way up to operating voltage. Oh shit. Something was smoking away in there. What the fuck was that? Please don't tell me that was the transformer. Let me make sure I'm unplugged here and everything. It's okay. Nothing's hot. I mean, could it just be a matter of shit burning off the tube? We got a flashlight. I think it might have been crap burning off of the tube because I'm not seeing any more smoke. I've been letting it sit here at about 80%. And it's not really drawing that much at 80%. Let me bring it up just a little bit more.
Oh, I have raisins. I'm a mom. Wait 1 sec. I've got cupcakes in the car.
It's our best iPhone offer ever. Switch to T-Mobile. Get a new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. No trade-in needed. We'll even pay off your phone. Update.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Because they're... I wanna get in your ocean. I wanna be careless and free. I wanna live here with the moment we found. I wanna be all that you see. Tomorrow can wait. Facing time in this place till the sun is awake. It's like a magnet on me. I don't care what they say. We can do it our way. And if love's just a game, then come and play.
Rena Carpenter espresso by the decent subculture. Oh, medio raro.
You know what? For those puny little speakers, it actually doesn't sound too bad. I'm not going to chance it though. I'm glad it actually works. For a minute there, it was like, crap, I blew it up. But I'm not. I think maybe something was touching, or maybe there was just some crap on top of that tube. But there's nothing. There was nothing out of spec. It was fine. So I think I've been busting my ass in electronics all day, and I think I'm going to take this cabinet outside and start cleaning it up a little bit. Alrighty, well, I took the chassis outside and dusted it off a little bit, but I'm going to clean that up a little bit more. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is, the sun's starting to go down, so I'm going to clean up the cabinet a little bit. And first I'm just going to wipe it down a little bit. It's got a very thick finish on it. It's like a bar top finish. It needs a little love. It's a little tired. It's a little scratchy. So I'm going to use just a little mild detergent and a damp cloth and clean this up a little bit. And then I will get out some furniture products. Already it's just looking a little bit nicer from just wiping it down a little bit. But inside, it's like a nightmare. It looks like it's inhabited by many years of spiders and cobwebs. But it seems like it's been kept somewhere very dry. It's just dusty and dirty inside, so it's not a big deal. Maybe it was stored in an attic, I'm not sure. But anyway, there doesn't seem to be any signs of beetles or infestations of termites or anything like that. It's not unusual out here in the west because it's pretty dry. So the varmints don't get enough moisture to survive. Shit, that wasn't a good thing. I'd be surprised if that still works. That is a salt, probably a salt crystal cartridge. Man, that paint's coming right off that arm. Anyway, I'll probably have to get that platter out of there. I'm just doing a preliminary cleaning, and then I'm going to go over it with some furniture stuff. Here we go, day 2, working on the Blaupunkt stereo system. And this, as far as I got yesterday, was just getting it working and doing a little bit of initial cleanup. But I need to recap the rest of this today. At least try to, and then I want to take care of the cabinet. I put it outside. It's actually my week off of work, and I have a problem as I get older. When I have time off work, I don't know what to do with myself. It's like, don't work on radios the entire time you're on vacation. But what do? I wind up doing exactly that. The good thing is my parents are flying in from across the country for the holiday weekend, which is 4th of July, and so I'll be spending time with them versus my radios. So, but what I really want to do is see about taking this front end off so I can clean back behind here a little bit, even though it's not totally necessary. It looks like this is held on just with these little spring clips back here, so I should be able to pull that off there pretty easily. It's not necessary, but I did clean up the chassis completely, front and back, and behind the glass plate here. So I took that off and I put it over there for safekeeping along with all the other radio stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to recap as much of this as I can. There's some caps in here that I can't even get at because they're just buried back there. But the set worked. I do find that sometimes these small electrolytics do go bad, so I'm going to try to replace those. Likewise, these metal-bodied guys, I find that those two are just fancy paper caps that are inside of a metal tube. So I'm not sure why they thought that would be. They were trying all kinds of things back then. They had like different bodies for different casings for the capacitors, I guess, in an attempt to make them last longer. And to their credit, the fact that this still works with those capacitors in there shows maybe they knew what they were doing. But I've had a bunch of these go bad on me, so I'm going to try to replace all of them that I can get my hands on. There may be one or two that I just can't, and that'll just have to be how it is. Unfortunately, these Blaupunkts are some of the worst when it comes to things being built in layers. Like they probably put this board in all in one piece with all the components soldered to it, but then going in there and getting at it later is in some cases impossible. Okay, well, I did a good part of the top, and there were some values I didn't have, and I'll have to come back and get those later. But now I'm going to start on the underside, and this is a situation where if you've worked on these long enough, you'll know what capacitors are more durable than others. So these guys, even though they look like they have the same labels as their paper cap brethren, they're actually plastic. And I find that these are usually okay. They're kind of clear on the end. And again, these guys, I don't trust them. And there's quite a few of them in here, and I've replaced a few already, like this one and this one here. And with these, situations like this, it's real important to kind of take your time. And what I do is I'll just film it. I'll show what I do on these guys, even though probably many of you are going to roll your eyes because you've seen what I'm about to do 10 million times. Okay, so it's pretty much almost all entirely recapped now. There's a few values I don't have. I'm probably going to come back and replace those later. But what I want to do now is take the opportunity to I don't know, while I'm under here, go ahead and wire in the tape player connection for an audio input auxiliary. Basically what I want to do is put a 3.8 millimeter stereo cable coming out of the back of that, so whoever has this in the future could run whatever compatible audio device they have these days, which could be anything from a Bluetooth receiver to their phones to anything that has a stereo jack on the back of it. They could run it through this stereo through the tape player input. Very easy to do. And they have these DIN connectors, and I just can't, I'll have to look at the back and see which one is which. Alright, on this one, the DIN connector for tape is this one. Usually easy to tell because I'll have a whole bunch of connections versus record player, which is usually like just 3. And so here's our right and left incoming channels going to the tape player connection. So likewise, I have this 3.5 millimeter stereo cable coming in through this hole, which was already here, and I just put a rubber grommet in it and a knot, and that comes and ties into our right and left channels, and the gold wire is chassis ground. That's the negative. So now that this is all wired up, and then I've recapped it all just about completely, I'm going to plug it up to the cabinet again, and then I'm going to make sure to work on the cabinet throughout probably the rest of the afternoon, because it's pretty dirty and grungy and needs a lot of love. Alright, there's good news and bad news. Good news is that the electronic seems to be working fine. The bad news is that one of the speakers in the front's bad. It's a weird one. This guy's open. It's supposed to measure 5 ohm and it measures zilch. I think that's supposed to be some sort of mid-range, and there's a little tweeter above it. That one's okay. So I need to take this off of here, go find another one that'll fit, and it has to fit perfectly because it's got this perfect little cup that goes over the top of it. If it don't fit, it won't work. Okay, so sometimes desperate situations call for desperate measures. So I went over to the museum and dug through all of our speakers. And whatever speaker size this is certainly not normal. It's not 4-inch, it's not 3-inch, it's not 5-inch. It's like something weird, like 3 1/4, 3.60. But since this folds down and people will see it, you just can't put some stupid ass looking speaker in there. So I found this speaker, and luckily it fits right in there, but I'm going to have to do some machining to get that to work right. But in the meantime, now we have all the speakers working. You're not going to blow away the household with this thing, by the way. Alright, so now that the electronics are kind of sort of sorted, I'm going to work on the cabinet a little bit. I'm going to start with dousing the crap out of it with Old English. Even though I think the top is pretty much a plastic urethane. But it'll fill in any sort of like really deep scratches. I don't know what's in this stuff, but it works really well. I think it's probably some sort of stain. It's pretty hot out here too, so it's probably immediately soaking in. It'll even take care of some minor boo-boos like that little scratch back there. The thing is like I hate refinishing things because I'm not very good at it. But you can see how much better that looks. And now some of the areas that I think maybe have more of a natural wood finish versus that urethane, it'll make a real big difference. So I'm just going to go over this whole thing with this stuff repeatedly and let it soak and marinate in it. Usually what you'll find is that the areas that are touched a lot are usually given a really thick finish versus some of the areas inside where maybe not so much. Like especially down here, that's more of a light finish. I think mostly it was just dirty, but we're going to buff it out real good. Alright, well I marinated the crap out of it with that Old English, but now I'm going to go over it with my mechanical buffer. Except my hands are getting tired these days, so I'm going to use this big boy here instead of the little bitty one I usually use, and it'll just make it go quicker. And with these heavy urethane finishes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a little bit of Novus No. 2 plastic polish together with a little synthetic wax. Oh, it was getting a little bit intense out there in the sun, so I had to come back in, but well, that's I got it looking pretty good. I had to spend quite a bit of quality time on this top here. try to get through a lot of the scratches and hazing. It's not a totally glossy finish. It's like almost a semi-gloss finish. So you can see it's not like a piano finish like you'd see on some of these. And the front is pretty emblematic of that. You can see it's got a few smudge marks on it. I'll probably go over it one more time with maybe a paste wax, but what I was using on this was Novus No. 2 plastic polish. Wow, it's hot to the touch. You don't want this stuff to sit in the sun like that, because this kind of finish will crack and bake if you let that happen, so it's important. So now what I'm going to do is, I took the record player out, and I'm just going to give it an initial cleaning. And after that, I think I'm going to put the chassis back in. I'm going to clean the knobs, because everything works on it perfectly. The AM, FM shortwave, audio input for tape. So it's just a matter of starting to piece this back together. The record player is the last thing. And I don't know what the situation is with this cartridge. If it's no good, then it's going to be an issue. I'll probably have to replace it with something else, but we'll see. All right, so record player time. I cleaned it up. I don't know why, I just like having things clean when I start on them. First of all, the main idler, or whatever you call it, the main pulley is good. It's a little hardened up, but it's still squishy. So our belts are still good. Don't know about the cartridge. Look underneath here. Let's see, is this motor at all wanting to turn? Crap, quit. All right. Yeah, it wants to turn freely. Okay, that's good. I remember this from the last time I worked on one of these. It's got this huge resistor. I wonder if that's for going from 50 to 60 hertz. So it'd have to be, because you can switch it from 120 to 220, so maybe that's a dropping resistor. I don't know. Winky, what's the matter? Winky? Meow? Meow? I gotta feed my cat. Okay, so I got the chassis installed. Easier said than done. Actually, before I put it back in there, I had a few more capacitors I'd forgotten to replace, and I replaced those. I also fixed up a few boo-boos with the back of the cabinet. But now what I need to do is do this front speaker transplant. Like I said, I couldn't find exactly the correct size replacement, but I found one that's pretty close. All that matters is that it fits inside of this, so I don't know the difference. So I think what I'm going to do is cut this away. So I kind of remove these corners here with whatever means necessary. And then what I can do is just drill some tiny little pilot holes here and screw that in there, and then the two little threaded screws for the cover, that'll accommodate that. So problem solved. No one will know the difference. Hey everybody, here's day number 2 of working on the, it's early in the morning, Blaupunkt stereo. It is 6:30 in the morning, and why am I doing this early? It's because I couldn't sleep. My parents are flying in. It's the 4th of July week that I have off of work. I just want to get my garage cleaned out, so I'm fixing everything that's left in here because I need to work on my car. My Plymouth has a crack in one of the exhaust pipes, and I need to fix that. And in order to do that, I need to jack the car up so I can get under more easily with my tools and my welder and stuff. So AM FM stereo audio input works fine on this. As I was indicating yesterday, I touched up. It's hard to film this because it's kind of dark in here. The sides had some damage, as in some of the veneer had lifted off and you could see the fiberboard underneath. So I touched it up with a little brown paint so you won't see it. But what I did yesterday was I let this run for about an hour. I find that, well, actually, what I did is I put new oil in the bearings of the motor, and I've just been letting it run to make sure it's going to be good and smooth. Seems like those belts are really doing their job. That's what I want to see. But what I want to do now is clean and lubricate the mechanism underneath, because this is a changer. I've had a hard time getting this particular type of changer to work correctly, but maybe I'll get lucky this time. I'm not even sure if the cartridge is any good. In fact, I should probably test that before I go too crazy. All right, I was able to go in here, and what you want to do is just touch anything that moves that has a, a sliding or a pivoting movement with just a little bit of lubricant. Not much. I've already come up here and touched it already once with a little lubricant, and now I'm wanting to make sure that it all works in really well. The other thing I did was I found that one of the belts that was coming off of one of the turrets was snapped in half, and so I wasn't able to get 33 and 45 RPM would not work because the belt was snapped. So I replaced that. I've lubed all this up. And the other thing is I'd found that the changer, the dropper mechanism for whatever in the hell this thing's called, is a little bit corroded, so I'm cleaning it up in a little CLR along with, it's really strange. You can replace this with that in the bottom, so you can have a single manual play. So let's flip it up and see if the changer mechanism is going to do its thing. All right, I'm going to start it on 78, because that's the fastest speed, and then I'll make sure that... All right, here we go. See if it's going to do its thing. All right, I did drop the record. So I get to reject the record. No record there. Let's try that again. Let's try it. This time let's try it with 33. Probably won't do it 33. It's too slow, but I'll find out. Come on, you can do it. Ah! Now, all I need to do is just see if the cartridge is any good. If it's not, I'll have to get one at the museum.
Well, you got the most fine Jack Shaw on the United States Air Force Guard with the Rolling
I can't believe that works. Anyway, it's a nice, pleasant surprise when you're like, that ain't gonna work. There's no way it's gonna work, and it does. Maybe I should use that in the future. It's like if you want things to work, just tell yourself it won't, and then you'll get surprised in the end. Versus what usually happens with me, which is like, I did it right. I feel good about this. I know it's gonna work, and it doesn't. So instead of setting yourself up for disappointment and failure, set yourself up for failure, and when you succeed, it will be that much better. Anyway, that's how my logic works, and maybe that's why, again, this channel has hardly anyone that watches it, because I use such idiotic, non-technical, non-engineering logic like that. Anyhow, I'm going to take that record player back out again. I'm not wild about this. That looks terrible. I'd like to repaint it. I just don't know if I have any cream-colored paint laying around. But if I don't, whatever.